Welcome again to my YouTube channel. My name is Joshua, and today I will be telling you the documents you need to upload when you're submitting your application. That's your express entry application, your PR application, of course. Right. So you've gotten into the pool, you don't have your ITA yet. Don't go and sleep. Don't be like me. You know what happened to me? True life story. I got ITA February 26. I did not submit until April 12th. You know why? Because I did not gather the documents I needed before ITA. So while you're in the pool now and you think you have all the time, no, you don't have all the time. You need to start gathering your documents. Remember, you have 60 days after ITA to submit. So I almost missed my ITA. Why? Because I didn't get anybody to tell me this beforehand. Because of the rush, I was not getting my documents as when I should when I was in the pool. I waited till I've gotten ITA and then I started to gather documents. What happened was I submitted my application, but then weeks after I got an ADR. What does ADR mean? ADR means additional details required. That means what I submitted was not sufficient for the case officer or the visa officer to review my documents. You don't want to fall into that trap. So you want to make sure right from the onset you have all your documents complete. Now, some officers might not be so kind to have given an ADR. Some officers could have just rejected the application outrightly, and then you have to start all over again. You don't want to waste time. And to save time, make sure your application is complete, your document is complete. So don't be like me. Start gathering your documents right now, and if you stay till the end, I'm going to tell you all the documents you will need to submit. And also I will tell you a very costly mistake I made that made me lose another 1 month after I submitted my application. So watch to the end so that you don't make the same mistakes that I made. Right. Before we go into the documents required, I'll be super grateful if you'll be kind enough to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and also like this video if you find it useful, of course. All right, let's go into it. Number one is police certificate. So what is police certificate? Why do you need a police certificate? Police certificate is just a document that tells the Canadian government that you're not a criminal, or if you're a criminal, it includes the criminal record, of course. So basically they are trying to look for reasons why you may be inadmissible to Canada. So get a police certificate. That is the very first document. Now, I'm not listing it in any particular order. You need to provide police certificates for every country where you have lived more than 6 months. If you're going to need multiple certificates, this might be one of the most tedious stage for you, which is why I've also said start your process early enough. So I'll put a link in the description box that tells you everything you need to know for depending on the country where you're applying for police certificate, what will be required, right? I am sure some people will be applying from different countries. So check the link and you would find how you can apply for police certificate in the different countries that you have lived in. All right. And if you're applying from Nigeria, since I'm from Nigeria, I can give my own experience. So I got my police certificate at Alagbon Police Station in Lagos State, right? So that's for police certificate. Number two, passports, right? Now, you need passports definitely to travel. Your passport must not be less than 6 months to expiry. What does that mean? That means if you're submitting we're in June right now. If you're submitting in June, the expiry date on your passport should not be anything before December. This was a mistake that I didn't know at the point when I was submitting that cost me 1 month. What happened to me? I submitted my application April 12th. My passport was expiring May 24, just a month after. And you can imagine what happened. May 24, my passport became expired. I didn't have a new one. I'd applied, right? I was disappointed and all of that. But by May 29, I got my biometrics instruction letter, and that is supposed to say go to VFS for your biometrics. But I can't go to VFS because my passport is expired, right? So that took me another almost a month. Now take note of this. You have 30 days after you get BIL to go for your biometrics. Now I'm waiting for a passport. I don't have a passport. I was going almost every day to the passport office, one excuse or the other. It became ready on the 28th of June. That is a day, just a day, to me losing everything and starting from the scratch. I lost a month, but it would have even been worse if it was not ready, because I would have lost everything and started again all the way back to the pool and then started again from ITA, right? It would have been a loss of time. But guys, you don't want to be in that position. So check your passport. If your passport is expiring soon, go to passport office and renew. If you have to do fast track, please go ahead, do fast track. Make sure you don't fall in the trap of having to update your passport after you've submitted. Now, who needs passport? You need passport, your spouse needs passport, and every other person that is traveling with you, of course, needs passport. And then I talked about police certificate earlier, but I didn't mention who needs police certificate. You need police certificate, your spouse needs police certificate, and I think usually any dependent coming with you that is older than 18 years needs police certificate. All right, now the next document I'm going to talk to is the proof of upfront medical examination. Now, medical examination is just a way the Canadian government kind of assesses whether you are fit to come to Canada. You need to provide a proof of upfront medical examination. So I'll put a link in the description that tells you the places where you can do your medical tests, right? In Nigeria, it's either Q Life or IOM. Now, another reason why you should start now is because by the time you go online and check, these guys have been booked. So if you check now, you probably will not get a date for June. You probably might be getting a date for July, August, or what have you. So why not start booking an appointment now, right? So that when you get your ITA, you would be able to submit as early as possible, because that's the goal. You want to save time. You don't want to wait. Yes, you have 60 days, but you don't want to wait for 60 days before you submit. You want to make sure you submit as early as possible, right? So that you can easily get on and get this thing done with. Okay, so I was talking about upfront medical examination, your Q Life or IOM. I did with IOM, and it was pretty straightforward. You go there with they will tell you what to come with, right? I'll put a link in the description that gives the addresses, the contact details in case you need to book an appointment. So I will just put the link there so you can go and check. And if you're not applying from Nigeria also, I'll put a link in the description where you would be able to access all the agents that are approved to give medical tests. All right, up next, number four. Number four is education. You need educational documentation, right? So I know already by now, if you're in the pool, you must have done your ECA. If you're in the pool, you must have done your IELTS, right? So what do you need for education? Education, basically, you need all your degrees from all your post-secondary degrees. You need your ECA report and you need your IELTS. Now, notice I said post-secondary degrees. Don't bring WAEC. They don't need your WAEC. So what do you need? You need your bachelor's degree, your master's degree. If it's an HND you're using, you need HND. If it's OND, you need all your certificates after secondary school, put them together. Then, of course, put your ECA report, include your IELTS results. Now, take note of this. Everything you're submitting here, match them into one PDF file. Don't upload multiple files. Match everything together into one PDF. Right? So your bachelor's degree, your master's degree, your PhD, your HND, your ECA report, your IELTS report, all in one single PDF file. Right? How do you merge a file? If you just go on Google and Google merge PDF file, you would see different online services that can help you with that. So you just upload your document and they merge it for you, and you can use that. All right. Now, if you stay to the end, I will tell you how you should save your documents, right? Because that is very important. It's very key for you to make sure you make your documents as easy as possible for the case officer who will be processing your file to process it. Okay? Make sure for your IELTS, you visit the IELTS office to collect your results. Right? So go to the office, collect the results. You see, all of these are the reasons why you need to start preparing right on time. So make sure you get everything you need to get right from now. Now, the next number 5 is employment records. So employment record is one aspect that people always struggle with. But here, what do you need for employment record? According to the Canadian government side, you need a reference letter and payment stubs if available. Right? That is how the sites put it. If available, payment stub. Right. Now, payment stub is also payment slip, right? It makes it easier. It makes it more convincing, so to say. So, as much as possible, get your reference letter and get your payment stub. Now, towards the end, I will tell you the typical things of what a reference letter should have. And then I'll also show a sample of a reference letter. Right? So please stay true to the end. But take note of this. If you're using different employments, then you can use multiple files. Right? Remember, I said in education, put all the files together. If you are using different employments, right, you need to use a single file for one employment, a single file for the other employment. For each employment, you have one file. Right. So let's say, for example, I work in McDonald's from 2001 to 2002. I'll put all my payment stub from McDonald's and reference letter from McDonald's as a single file. Say from 2003 to 2005, I worked with Halliburton. I'm going to put my payment stubs with Halliburton and my reference letter in another single file, together in another single file. Then let's say I worked again for another few months. I worked with Zenith Bank. I'm going to put all of those in one single file. I worked with Stanbic IBTC. I put all the documents relating to that employment in one single file. But if you've worked just for one employment, you're using just one employment, right? Then it should be one single file you're submitting, you're uploading. Put everything together, your reference, your payment stub, and everything that shows you, that proves that you worked in that place. Put everything together in one single file. Now, I would advise that you include 6 months, the previous 6 months payment slip in your application. Right? So let's say you worked for Stanbic for 2 years, put 6 months payment slip before you resigned in the application. Let's say the another 1 year you worked for Total, put 6 months payment slip of Total and reference letter in one single file. All right. So Towards the end of this video, I would also be telling you, so some people have reached out to me and said, I don't know how to get a reference letter. I'm not able to get a reference letter. So there are different reasons why you might not be able to get a reference letter from your employer. So if you're in that category of people who are not able to get a reference letter from your employer, I'm going to just show you some tips, tell you some tips towards the end of what you can do. Right? Now, let me put a caveat here. The Canadian government has asked for reference letters specifically. So, if there is even any chance you can get that, ensure you get it. But if for any reason or the other, maybe the employer you worked with has gone bankrupt, no more in operation, for one reason or the other, you're not able to get a reference letter. Some people have tried some things and it has worked for some people. So I'm just going to list that out towards the end of the video on what you can do if you're not able to get a reference letter. So please stick through to the end if you will be needing that information. All right. So up next is proof of means of financial support. Okay. So usually the Canadian government expects that for the first 6 months that you're in Canada, you should be able to take care of yourself. Right? So there is an allocated amount depending on the size of the family you're coming with. There's an allocated amount that you're expected to have. All right? So according to the website, what you need is a letter, an official letter from a financial institution that lists out all your bank accounts, current, savings, checking accounts, your loan account, your credit account, all your bank accounts, your investment account, and showing a 6-month statement of your balances, right? Now, this is a big part because many people have reached out to me and said, I don't have up to this amount. Now, how much do you need? First, if you're a single applicant, you need about 13,000. You need about 13,000 Canadian dollars. But if you're more than one, for each person added to the application, there is an amount, and you're going to see that at the end of the video, and also in a link that I put in the description below. If so far you found this video useful, it will be so cool if you can like the video, if you can subscribe, and if you can click on the notification bell. I'll be super excited. All right. So for proof of financial support, now you can use 25% of your pension. All you need to do is contact your PFA, that's your pension fund administrator, to write you a letter addressed to the Canadian government, to IRCC, that you have so amount in your pension fund and you're able to access 25% of it. If you're not able to get a job 4 months after and all of that, they will know how to draft the letter. I'm sure it's not the first time they're doing such. So just write to them that you need a letter to show as a proof of fund for your Canadian immigration, and they would put you through. So Treasury bill certificate qualifies. Now, the Treasury bill certificate, of course, would be on the letterhead of an institution, usually your financial institution. So you can use that. You can use mutual fund. If you have mutual fund, reach out to your mutual fund company to give you a statement of your mutual fund account, including stating the balances. All right. So usually what the Canadian government is trying to do is they want to be sure that you are not just going to borrow money to show as proof of fund. All right. So some people have asked me, can I borrow money? I have a sister. My sister wants to give me this amount, wants to borrow me this amount. What can I do? Now, in fact, I have a friend that did something similar to that. So she had some amount, but not up to the expected amount. What did she do? She had a sister that was willing to give her 2 million naira, right? So what she did was collect the 2 million naira and then she made a gift deed, right? So do a gift deed. If you're going to get money from a family member, it doesn't need to be an outright dash, right? So collect the money, do a gift deed. So that means you need to submit the gift deed. If this is what you're doing, submit the gift deed alongside the documents you're gathering. So this is an instance where you don't have enough money, right? Do the gift deed, take the money, put it in a treasury bill, fixed deposit, or any investment. So you already have an understanding that at so time I'll give you the money back. You just need to show that you have sufficient money. But the downside to this is when you're eventually traveling, I have heard of instances where at the port of entry, the immigration officer asked for your proof of fund. In fact, I think it was last week or last 2 weeks, I'm in a group where someone was telling me the officer actually asked that she logs into her bank account and show the funds. So if you're the one that wants to borrow money, you also need to be sure that by the time you're actually traveling, you have the money. Because there are people that have been sent back at the port of entry because of not having sufficient proof of fund in their account. So yeah, for the point where you want to submit your application, you may not have enough and you think you have a brother or uncle, an aunt that can help you out. Do a gift deed and go ahead to use that as a proof of fund. Okay, it's a last resort, really. It's not foolproof, but I have seen people that it worked for. So if you don't have the money and it's an option, why not take it? Why not do it? Now, number 7 document you need is your digital photo. Yeah, just your digital photo. Now they tell you the measurement should be 35 by 45 mm, or minimum of 600 pixels. The picture should not be older than 6 months, so it must be a picture you took in the last 6 months. Honestly, what I did was to use my phone to snap myself and then download an app on my phone to modify the pixels, right? But you can, of course, go to a photographer to take the picture. Preferably collect the soft copy so that you don't have to be scanning. If you take hard copy, you don't have to be scanning. Take the soft copy, 35 mm by 45 mm, around 600, not less than 600 pixels. All right. Passport, normal digital photo. All right. And then the last but not the least is letter of explanation. Now there are different opinions about letter of explanation. Some people will tell you don't need a letter of explanation. Some people will tell you need a letter of explanation. This is what you need to know. A letter of explanation is just a letter that gives additional information. I didn't use one at the point of submission, but much later I did use, because the treasury bill I submitted as my proof of fund matured and then I needed to roll over. So I did a letter of explanation to tell the Canadian government that my proof of fund treasury bill has matured and I have then gotten another and I have reinvested it, and then I provided a new certificate, investment certificate. Okay, so if you have a peculiar case, you definitely need a letter of explanation. So for example, let's say you fall into the category of someone who was not able to get a reference letter. You need a letter of explanation to explain yourself. If you have any other thing that you think the officer processing your file may not understand, put everything in a letter of explanation and upload it. There's really no template to it. Just feel free. Make sure you explain whatever you want to explain and then upload it. All right. So those are the basic documents that every applicant needs. Now, depending on your case, there might be additional documents that you need. So for example, if you're divorced, you might need to submit the divorce document. If you had indicated and gotten point for relative in Canada, you may need to you would need to submit documents that show your relationship to whoever you're claiming points on in Canada. If you adopted your kids, you may need to provide adoption documents and all of that. So those are other documents depending on your case, right? It's peculiar to your case. It's not a general requirement, but these ones that I've listed earlier on: police certificate, passport, proof of upfront medical examination, education, employment records, proof of means of financial support, digital photo, those are must have for every applicant. Those are documents you must submit. All right, now let's talk about employment record. What do you need to be in your reference letter? Now, first and foremost, your reference letter must be on a company letterhead, right? It must be on a company letterhead. It must include your name. It must include your company's contact information, right? It must be signed by an appropriate officer. So maybe usually to be the head of your human resources or any assigned person to do that. So it must be signed. Then it must show all the position you held while you were employed at that company. It must include your job title. It must include your duties or responsibilities. Now, for duties and responsibilities, take note of this. You should check your NOC. What is NOC? NOC is National Occupational Classification that the Canadian government uses to classify different occupation: accountant, banker, investment advisor, credit manager, lawyer, doctor, whatever profession you have, whatever occupation you have, there is an NOC. Now, as much as possible, check your NOC. How do I know what my NOC is? If you watch my last video where I talk about how to create your Express Entry profile, I put a link there that can direct you to how you can check your NOC, right? I would also put it in this video. Now, try as much as possible to make sure that your job duties aligns with the duties that are related to the NOC you have chosen when you are filling your application. All right? Then it will also show your job status if you're still in the employment, and if you have left the employment, it should show your start date and your end date, right? It should also show your work hours. How many hours did you work in a week? And then it should show your annual salary. All right, so now if your question is, what if I cannot get a reference letter? What do I do? All right, like I mentioned before, reference letter is a requirement. But if for any reason you are not able to get a reference letter, this is what you should do. Get every document that can support or proof that you worked at that company. Your original offer letter, your employment contract, emails confirming your role, pay slips or pay stubs, bank statements showing your salary credit, old reference letter from your employer, company newsletter that probably mentions you, pictures of you at work. Get everything that you can get your hands on that shows that you worked at that place. Get all of them together. You're going to put them together, and you're going to then do a letter of explanation explaining why you're not able to get a reference letter, and then explaining what each of those documents are supposed to prove, right? Now, if in your case the company has gone bankrupt or is no longer active, if you can get a letter from your supervisor or a company executive, excellent. If not, do your own letter and explain the reason. Try and get screenshot from the company website that shows that the company is no longer active. If there's a newspaper article or publication where it was announced that the company has gone bankrupt, include it in your application. Any publicly available document, legal document that shows that this company is no longer active, include it in your application. bankruptcy filing, and everything that you need to do. Put them together and then do a very beautiful letter of explanation and include that, and hopefully it should work out fine for you. So next I'll show you templates of different documents that I said I was going to show you at the end of the video. You will see all the templates subsequently, and then in my next video, a number of persons have reached out to me and said, how much do I need, Joshua, to budget for in this whole process? How much do I need? Now, in the next video, I'm going to share with you, give you an idea of an estimate really, because it's not a fixed expenditure, right? It's very relative. For example, IELTS will be depending on how many times you get to write IELTS, right? ACA will be depending on the option you choose to do. Would depend on the option, would depend on how much your school is charging for transcript and all of that. But in my next video, I'll do a breakdown. I'll do an estimate of how much you'll be needing to process the Canadian PR from beginning to the end. Really, it's an estimate. Like I said, there would be plus or minus. There could be plus or minus, right? It's just to give you an idea so that you know how much you should be expecting to budget in your planning, your preparation. Right. So that is all I have for you today. Please, before you go, subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you find the video helpful, like and share with your friends, share with your folks, share it on your social media handles, and please comment if you need any help, have any question, need any clarification. I'm here to pretty much help you till I come your way again. You keep being awesome. Thank you.